Hello, so I did my final presentation on Surrealism after World War One. So the art after World War One drastically changed. It was sort of like a breakthrough for art. Um, as we learned in class before, it was mostly traditional art using regular objects, but after the war and the impact of it, objects and ordinary objects started to be converted into obscure, grotesque images done by the surrealist artists. Art now came from the unconscious mind, and we have some artists that joined this movement, like Salvador Dali, that most people know. We also have Yves Tanguy, Andre Breton, Max Ernst, and Man Ray. So we just have the definition on this one. Surrealism is just known as a 20th century avant-garde movement in art and literature, which has sought to release the creative potential of the unconscious mind. For example, by the irrational juxtaposition of images, artists started to stem from their unconscious mind and turn their dreams and such into a vivid reality on canvas. So here I just have three pictures of art done by the artist I chose to do my presentation on. So we have Yves Tanguy on the left, in the middle we have Andre Breton, and then we have Salvador Dali's. I tried to pick their most known images, so I'm sure everyone recognizes the Salvador Dali one. The other two aren't as known, but they came up as the most known for those artists. So first off, we have Salvador Dali, the most known surrealist artist. He was born May 11th in 1904 and died in January 23rd, 1989. He is known as the most surrealist artist, as I said, and his most known is The Persistence of Memory, which we did just say. He interpreted his dreams and childhood memories into artwork. And there's a picture of him on the left with his bobcat. So his art was really reinterpreted reality and altered perception as art. He used a method of systematic irrational thought and self-induced paranoid state. So he would put himself pretty much in these states of fear and horror to get paintings like we see today. Some of his paintings did represent the horrors of the war. The one on the right represented the horror of the Spanish War. I believe the one on the left represented a war as well. Here's just a quote that I thought was really interesting by him. He said he believed that viewers would find intuitive connection with his work because of the subconscious language was universal, and it speaks a vocabulary of great vital constants, sexual instincts, feeling of death, physical notion of the enigma of space. These vital constants are universally echoed in every human. And then we have Yves Tanguy. He is a French surrealist artist. He was born January 5th, 1900 and died January 15th, 1955. His art symbolized his childhood, his hallucinations, and psychotic episodes. So his art was a little different. It was a little more grim and a little more creepy than Dali's art. He took on the realism and fantasy of this unconscious mind. He manipulated the scale of things and the perceptive eye. He engaged his viewers with emotions and imagination, and he is known for depicting the unconscious as a place. As we can see in this picture, it's kind of gray tone scale and not many objects in there. Lastly, we have Andre Breton. He was a surrealist painter, but also a poet and author, which he is most known for. He was born February 19th, 1896, and died in September of 1966. He was known as the Pope of Surrealism due to his 3-book series, The Surrealist Manifesto. There's a picture of him on the left. So his whole thing about surrealism was a pure psychotic automatism in its pure state. He drew on the idea of psychoanalytic theories because he started his career as a medical student with in the psych ward. So that's really where he drew these ideas from. And most of his art and poems were anti-war protests. So after World War One, just some effects on the art world again to go over. Art came as beauty and violence now. It wasn't just what is beautiful. Due to the war, there were syndromes, there was a lot of hallucinations and mental confusion for many people. Artists took their state of mind and made art from it. So instead of just thinking of the ordinary object, they really used personable ideas. And many artists of this time took protests against the nationalists and the colonialists, and they also used their art to reject this idea by making art that was illogical and embraced chaos because they felt the normalness caused the war. And then I just have my own essay on here as well. Wasn't really sure where we were supposed to put it, so I just added it. So I just used a canvas, acrylic paint, and fake flowers, and I stemmed off the idea of how they used anti-war protests and using the now. I just came up with the idea of doing something to show what's going on in our world now. So as we know, the coronavirus, I took on the idea of using flowers and nature as a mask for us. Since now a mask is the norm, I thought it was really important to remember in this time of craziness and despair that we always have nature and we should be so thankful of the time of the year it is and really look for the positives. And I think nature is something so positive for us right now that we should really um, look forward to that and be thankful for what we have. So that's why I kind of want to go with that idea to stem off the anti-war protests to kind of use what we are going through today. And that is it. So thank you for listening.